Welcome to the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you take the first steps on your fitness journey. Whether you're new to working out or you're looking to get back into it, we've got you covered with tips, tricks, and inspiration to help you reach your goals. So grab your workout gear and let's get started. All right, and we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast. I hope y'all had a great day today. Today is Monday. It's the beginning of your week. So you already know what I'm going to say. You got to start your week off on the right note if you want to have a good, successful week. So ask yourself, what did you do today to better yourself, to get 1% better, to work towards your goals? What did you do? Ask yourself that question. Without further ado, let's get into the podcast episode today, which is Endurance Training 101. So if you've been listening to the past few podcasts, you know that I'm training for an Ironman, which is basically all endurance training. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I'm going to update y'all about myself. So this weekend, I actually did a Olympic distance triathlon, just kind of for practice to get me ready for the Ironman. And I would say it was a success. I did pretty good. It was a great day. You couldn't ask for better weather. It was in Gulf Shores, Alabama. If y'all are curious, I finished 6th place in my division, in my age group, and I finished 58th overall out of like 215. So not too bad for only my second triathlon ever. And I've only been training for a few months for it. So I'll take it. Not too bad. There's some serious people out there. There's some people out there that are fast and they've been doing it basically their whole life. But yeah, it was a good test for what I'm gonna have to do come Ironman day. I really wanted to do it to get the practice of swimming in the ocean because we literally we swam straight off the beach, like straight into the ocean off the beach, which is very sketchy if you've never done it before. Swimming way out in the ocean. It's not something I would suggest doing for fun. I really didn't want to do it. But yeah, it was a good weekend. I enjoyed it. Had a good time. Yeah, it gave me a good idea of what to expect for the Ironman. I know I still got a long ways to go. I got a lot of work to put in. I got about 2 months. The Ironman is November 4th. So I got some good training to do in the next 2 months. So I'm looking forward to it. And I can't wait for it to get here. So yeah, that's enough about myself. Today is 9/11. So I just wanted to pay my respects to everyone who lost their lives during the tragic events that happened on 9/11. And then also say thank you to all the volunteers, all the firefighters, policemen, everybody that was involved in helping during that tragic time. I know it's a very sensitive subject, so we're gonna move on from that. But yeah, it's been I think 2001, so it's like over 20 years now. It's a long time. Hopefully, we'll never have to experience anything ever again like that in our lifetimes. Yeah, let's hop into the podcast. We're going to deep dive into endurance training. If you're a seasoned athlete or you're just getting started, this episode will help equip you with the knowledge and the strategies to excel in any endurance sport. So you may be asking, what is endurance training? It is a method of exercise that enhances your ability to sustain physical activity over extended periods. Some examples of endurance training: running, cycling, swimming, doing a triathlon, running a marathon, completing an Ironman, things like that. These are endurance training. So the benefits of endurance training is improved cardiovascular health, increased stamina, and mental toughness. Next, we're going to hop into the physiology. I guess that's how you say that word. Physiology of endurance. Y'all can tell I can't speak. But yeah. So oxygen utilization. This is how the body maximizes oxygen delivery to the muscles. So an example is during aerobic training, your body improves its ability to transport and utilize oxygen, increasing your endurance. So you have aerobic and then you have anaerobic energy systems. So the role of different energy pathways in different endurance activities. So we're not going to deep dive into aerobic and anaerobic. That's a whole nother topic podcast in itself. But an example of this is like sprinting primarily uses your anaerobic system, while long distance running relies on the aerobic system. So when you're doing like triathlon or marathon, you're mainly focusing on that aerobic system. And then also when it comes to endurance, you have training zones. So understanding these heart rate zones and their significance will help you tremendously when it comes to training for endurance. So an example, training in zone 2 is a moderate intensity and it is ideal for building that aerobic capacity. So you have the lower the zone, the easier it is. Think of it that way. So like the higher the zone, the harder something is. The harder your heart rate is, the faster your heart rate is, the higher the zone. If that makes sense. So when it comes to endurance training, you want to make sure you're setting goals. You got to set SMART goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. That's SMART. So setting SMART goals like running a half marathon. So setting a SMART goal would be running a half marathon in under 2 hours by the end of the year. So it's much more specific. So then you have long-term versus short-term goals. So balancing immediate progress with overarching objectives. So example, long-term goal might be completing an Ironman in 2 years. But your short-term goal may be focusing on each one of those disciplines. So like focusing on the swim or focusing on the bike or focusing on the run. So that'd be a short-term goal. Then you have periodization. So structuring your training plan to peak at the right time. So this is all going to be based off when your actual race is, if that's what you're planning on doing as a race. So you want to plan your harder training phases leading up to a target race, and then followed by a tapering phase for like recovery and peak performance. So like the week before your race, you'll taper it down and kind of make your workouts a little easier to get your body ready, get your body recovered for that race. Next, we have training principles. So obviously we have progressive overload. It's the same thing when it comes to anything fitness. Gradually increase training intensity to avoid plateaus. So an example is incrementally increasing your weekly running mileage to improve endurance without overtraining. So my suggestion is I would not go over 10% more than what you did the week before. So don't improve your training distance intensity by 10%. Don't improve it by more than 10%. So specificity, you want to tailor your workouts to your sport and your goals. So a cyclist, for example, will focus more on interval training with hills to mimic race conditions. So whatever your goal is, whatever your race is, or whatever you're trying to do, make your goals specific to that sport or that event or that goal. Next, you want rest and recovery. This is key, especially when it comes to endurance. When you're doing long distances, the importance of rest days and sleep for performance and energy prevention is crucial. I'm actually kind of dealing with this myself right now. I kind of have a little soreness on the back of my knee. It's been bothering me a little bit. So this is part of that. I need to properly warm up, properly rest, and recover. Next, we have different training techniques. So the first one is that base building. So develop that aerobic foundation. So example is spending several weeks doing longer, slower runs to improve your cardiovascular endurance before you start incorporating some speed work. So you want to build that aerobic base before you start implementing some harder workouts, some speed work. Next, you have interval training. So which is alternating high intensity bursts with recovery periods. So, for example, if you sprinted on a track for say 30 seconds and then you took a like 1 to 2 minute jog after. So 30-second sprint, 2-minute jog, 30-second sprint, 2-minute jog. That's interval. Next, you have a fartlek and a tempo run. So variations in running workouts. So an example, a fartlek involves varying your pace during a run, while a tempo run focuses on sustained efforts at your lactate threshold. So at that higher zone. So more like a zone 3 or zone 4, if you're familiar with heart rate zones. So it'd be a little bit harder. That'd be a tempo run. And then you have cross training. So incorporating other activities to reduce monotony and injury risk. So an example is a triathlete might cross train with swimming, or strength training on their non-running or cycling days. So this way you're kind of mixing it up and you're not doing the same thing over and over again because that gets boring. The next big topic when it comes to endurance training is your nutrition and your hydration. This is huge because most people will underfuel when they're training for these hard races. So fueling for endurance, you want to have a balanced diet. You want to balance your carbs, your fats, your proteins. For example, a cyclist might consume energy gels, energy bars, electrolyte drinks if they're going to be doing a long ride or a long training session that day to maintain their energy levels, because you will deplete a lot of your electrolytes, a lot of your energy during these long training sessions. So you need to replenish them so you can keep going. So your pre-workout and your post-workout nutrition, this timing is going to be crucial. So for an example, if you're going to eat a carbohydrate rich meal, you want to eat it 2 to 3 hours before you do your hard workout. So your long run or your long bike, you want to consume it before so your body can use that for fuel. And then after that workout, you want to consume some protein and some carbs, ideally within about 30 minutes after your workout, but just get them in after as soon as you can. Don't necessarily have to be 30 minutes, but get them in when you can. Don't just not eat anything. So hydration strategies, staying adequately hydrated during training and races is crucial. So you want to drink water or electrolyte solutions before, during, and after your workouts to prevent dehydration and cramping. So you got to stay hydrated. This is not just for endurance training. This is for anything you do. You should be staying hydrated, but especially when you're doing endurance training, don't just drink water, also drink electrolytes. This is key too. Got to drink the electrolytes or you will cramp up. So if you're going to sign up for a race of some kind, you're going to need gear and you're going to need equipment. So you want to make sure you choose the right gear. Your shoes if you're running, bikes if you're biking, swim gear if you're doing a triathlon, things to that effect. So a triathlete will need to invest in a well-fitted wetsuit or some aero bars that'll fit on their bike. It's important that you have a proper fit and proper maintenance of your gear. So you want to regularly maintain your bike if you're biking. This will ensure smooth and safe rides. You want to get new running shoes if your running shoes are worn down. They should last about 400 to 500 miles, and then you need to get some new running shoes because they won't give you the same support that they did when you first got them. So maybe getting some new shoes or something to that effect. And then another gear thing is supplements and gadgets. You want to separate the hype from the reality. For example, evaluating the efficacy of supplements like caffeine or GPS watches for tracking performance metrics. Caffeine is a good tool when it comes to endurance training. And then obviously GPS watches, these are key for tracking all your training metrics, how far you've gone, how fast you've gone, things like that. You're going to want a GPS tracker for sure, trust me. If you have an Apple Watch, this will do it all for you. This is what I use. It's pretty simple. Next, a huge part of endurance training is mental preparation. Mental preparation is huge because not only is endurance training physical, it's also mental. So you got to develop that mental toughness. You got to learn how to deal with pain and you got to learn how to deal with fatigue. So an example is use positive self-talk to push through mental barriers during a tough race. Pretty simple. Visualization techniques, mentally rehearsing races and workouts. So think it out before you do it. Visually picture what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Visualize yourself crossing the finish line. This is going to help you be strong, help you achieve your goals, help you push you a little further because you see the end, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then next, you want to stay motivated. So setting rewards and finding a support network. So example, join a running club, find a training partner, or stay to help you stay motivated and accountable. This is huge because it can get boring when you're doing endurance training. Trust me, I found this out the hard way, and I found a training partner, and it's helped me tremendously. It makes the workouts go by so much quicker. If you signed up for a race, whether it be a triathlon, a marathon, some kind of swim race, whatever it may be, you need race day strategies. So tapering is a huge training strategy to reduce the training volume for a big event. So you want to cut back on the mileage in the week leading up to it, like a marathon or triathlon. to ensure your legs are fresh on race day. I kind of touched about on this a little bit earlier. You want to make sure you're toning your training back so your body recovers and is prepared for race day. Another race day strategy is pacing. You got to find the right balance between starting too fast and too slow. You don't want to go too fast to where you tire yourself out and you can't finish the race. And you don't want to go too slow to where your time is just terrible, like you're way behind everybody else. So you got to follow a pacing plan to maintain a consistent effort throughout a long race. And this is something that you will figure out throughout your training. You'll find a good pace that you can hold for a long period of time. And then nutrition during your races, you got to use the fueling stations for not only food, but also for your hydration. So grab water, grab energy gels, energy bars, whatever it is at the aid stations that they have during your race. So if you're doing a shorter race, they may not have aid stations. So you may just want to hydrate before and after. But if you're doing like a marathon or a triathlon, they will have water stations, maybe some food and things out there for you to eat. So use this to your advantage to help fuel your body for the rest of the race. Also, when it comes to endurance training, is injury prevention and recovery. So when you're overtraining your muscles a lot when it comes to injury. When it comes to endurance training. So this leads to injuries. We want to reduce these as much as we can. Some common endurance related injuries are overuse injuries, runner's knee, pulled muscles, torn muscles, overuse, like just soreness. So you want to recognize these symptoms and take action to prevent worsening. So you can do this by doing stretches, doing warm-ups. An example would be incorporating hip and glute strengthening exercises into your routine to prevent IT band issues. So just make sure you're getting a good warm-up. This is, I think, why my knee has been bothering me like it is, because I didn't warm up properly like I should have to prevent these problems. So now I'm putting a lot more emphasis on a warm-up and a cool down before and after my workout to prevent these injuries. And then some active recovery techniques. You can do massages, you can do foam rolling, or you can even do like some yoga. So an example, use that foam roller to release tight muscles after a long run. You can actually use it before your long exercise too, to kind of get your body warmed up, get your body loosened. This is good too. So in conclusion, endurance training is both physically and mentally demanding, but it is immensely rewarding. So remember, stay consistent, stay dedicated, because these are going to be key for you to be successful in whatever that goal is or whatever that race is that you challenge yourself to do. So whether you're aiming to do your first 5K or you're aiming to do your first Ironman, hopefully this podcast helped you understand more about endurance training so you can reach your endurance goals. That was the whole idea. So that's all I got on endurance training. That's just the basics of it. Use that to your advantage. I challenge you, sign up for something, sign up for a race, do something, get out of your comfort zone, challenge yourself. Hey, for you, that may look like a 5K, or for you, that may look like a marathon or whatever. Just do something, challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone. I promise you, it will be rewarding when you cross that finish line. But that leads us to the motivational quote segment of the podcast. And today's quote, I actually kind of like this one. I never heard it before until today. But the quote goes, "Don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going." So it's pretty simple. Just keep going. Like, don't quit. Don't give up. Once you set your goals, or whatever your dreams are you've been dreaming of since you were a little kid, just keep going. You don't ever see a clock stop. It keeps going. It keeps ticking. So that's what you got to do. Don't just sit there and watch it. Because if you watch it, then the time's just going to keep going. It's going to keep going by. You're losing time. You're never getting that time back. So why are you going to sit there and keep watching it? Quit watching the clock and just keep going. Do what you got to do to reach that goal, or whatever that, or to cross that finish line, if that's what you're doing. So that's the motivational quote of the day. It's pretty simple, pretty short and sweet, to the point. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. Appreciate y'all hanging out for the podcast today. Follow me on all my socials. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review if you liked it. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like. If you got a topic that you want me to cover on the podcast, I would love to cover it. Let me know. Pretty much all my socials are Murphy Mac Fit. Also, I go live on my YouTube channel for the podcast. I have my own. I created a separate channel for the podcast. It's just the Fitness Beginner Podcast on YouTube. So subscribe there too if you want to see the live. If you want to tune in live and watch it, you can watch it on YouTube. Also on my Facebook account or on LinkedIn, wherever you want to catch it, you can watch it. And then if you want to listen to the audio only version, check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast at. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for hanging out with me. Peace, love, protein. We out. Thanks for tuning in to the Fitness Beginner Podcast. We hope you found today's episode helpful and inspiring. Remember to always start small, set realistic goals, and most importantly, have fun. Don't forget to tune in next week for more tips and advice on how to kickstart your fitness journey. Until then, stay active and stay healthy.